and then it'll just say broadcast, and so you just click it.
Yep, broadcasting. Okay.
And you'll get your little box, and then that means you are now live, and people can now see you live.
Okie dokie. That's awesome. Geez, I look tired. Okay, thank you.
All right, text me or call with anything else. I'll keep an eye on my phone.
Okay, thanks.
Enjoy.
Bye. Hi, everyone. I don't think you guys can actually comment or anything, but I thought that I would just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, there we go. So what we're going to do today is we're going to create this. Okay, this is actually a part of a pattern that I created a while ago called peonies, but I thought being painted, we'll call it painted peonies, nice and easy. So basically what you do is you get your pattern, which you will get, okay, when you come into this workshop, you'll get that, or you're entitled to that. Then what happens is you get your permanent marker and you draw on your fabric. So you trace through it. I used the window for a light box, and now it's all on my fabric. So I'm hoping you can see this. I'm going to try and bring this in as close as I can. There we go. Okay. So I've got it drawn on. You can see it's just a black permanent marker. Now, what I'm going to do next is straight out of the box. This is just so easy. So I'm using a Lumiere paint. You can use any kind of fabric paint, whatever you decide. I'm going to create it very similar to the one I did before, is colour-wise. I'm just going to show you how I actually paint this, and I do it very, very quickly. I give the bottle a really good shake, go through them, I pick out the colours, and I try and stick with a very minimal palette. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colours. One's a purple, one's a pink or it's a violet. This one is magenta. Then I have a green, which is emerald. I have white, and I also have a gold. So the green and the gold are going to be for the leaves, and this is also going to be in the centre of the flower. The white is also going to be the flower and the petals, as well as these two. So once I've given them a good shake, I start at the top. Now, you'll notice I'm using a batik fabric. I tend to use them a lot. They don't fray very much, and they're quite good for doing this sort of thing on. I put down one layer for the backing, and I have 2 layers of wadding, and it is just a plain poly wadding. Nothing too high, but it's nice and simple and easy to get. Then I put the top on. Now my fabric is one whole piece. You can see I've just folded in half, and I've also folded in half my wadding. So I've done it really, really, really sneaky. Once you've got that down, I haven't pinned it. There's no pins in this. You can see that there's no pins. There's no paper, plastic, nothing. I'm using very, very cheap $2, not even 50-cent brushes. And I'm going to open this. I'm going to start with the white first. And I'm going to use the larger one that I've got. No water. I don't want water in it. Water will only make it runny, which will make it bleed. So I'm using straight out of the lid first. You can pour the paint into the lid if you want to. Once I've used the lid, I'm then going to go back and use the actual bottle. So I'm doing a very rough, and you can see it's very rough, fill in the centre with my white. And I'm going to do that over all these large petals. And before I let it dry, and I have one for the white, one brush for the white, I just use the towel to wipe it clean. Then I'm going to get the pink, and I'm going to get the next brush, and I'm going to dip in straight away, and I'm going to come into the bottom here. And if you go over the lines, don't stress, it's no big deal. And I'm just touching around these, and you can see there's no real, I'm not doing anything special at the moment. Once I get that on, and you can see there's quite a bit of paint, it's doing that gooby thing, you see it's quite wet, then I actually start blending it in, and I'm going to blend in by using these little circular strokes. And I'll turn the brush over and just keep blending it in, sorry. Now, when I get to the edges, I like to try and leave my lines if possible, because I'm going to stitch on those. That's why that they're in a permanent marker, so I haven't really stressed over them. And you can see I've just wiped the brush and I'm feeding that paint up to the lines. You can see I'm just giving it a bit of a wiggle. Any excess paint, I'm just feeding up there, and that has made that petal darker down the bottom. Try and get rid of some of those paint lines, and lighter at the top. Now, even though I started with a white, it's gone to a light pink, which is sort of what I want it to do. I'm now going to get a little bit of pink for the next one behind it, because the paint will dry if I don't work on it straight away. Okay. And just blend it in. If you do paint over your lines, it doesn't matter. That's why you've got the drawing. That drawing will give you a guide as to where your lines are, and you can always go back with a permanent marker and draw them back on so you can see them. So I'm making it darker at the base of the petals, each petal, and I work through one at a time. So you can see that one there, and just feeding it up through to the top. Nice circular motions, really giving it a bit of a scrub. Go back, I wipe this one. That's my pink one. I'll pop that there. This is my white one. I get a little bit of white, and I go from the top and work my way down. So the top of the petal and down and down. And that just makes the top of the petal a little bit lighter than the rest. And like I say, if you do go over the lines, don't stress. We'll just stitch it in, make it look like it's supposed to be perfect. So you'll go through each and every petal until you do them all. If your brush gets too much on it, too wet, just wipe it off and smooth it out. All right, and you can see my edges aren't exactly perfect. You can see there, and that's okay. On this one here, I'm going to come in with a little bit of white just on the top there, and just pull that white into that top bit. It's only a little bit, but it's enough for me to see. As I pick up too much of the pink paint, I just wipe my brush and that's some more white up there. And that just lightens the top part. So I've got the darker part down here and the light up here. These things here, these little folds, they're literally the folds of the petal. So them, I just want them to be white. Now I'm going to use a smaller brush just because it's a smaller area, and it's specifically for the white. And I'm going to fill that in just like that. If you haven't got enough in your top of your lid, grab your paint pot and feed it over. Now, if you're interested in these paints, I do have them here. I do have them in store. I actually don't have them on my website yet, but you're welcome to. I have metallics and the luminescent ones. So if you're after these, you can always message me or send me an email, or contact me through the Craft Alive group. You can also do that. They'll always get you onto me. I'm just slowly filling these up. I'm not going to obviously paint this all while we're here because it'll take too long. But you can do at your own leisure, and seeing how we've got plenty of time these days, you'll get a few of these done. So you can see how that works. Now, these leaves, petals, all work the same way. What you've got to do when you look at your picture is figure out which ones are the folds. That's a fold there, and that's the inside of the petal. That's a fold there, and that's the inside of the petal. So you just have a quick look at it. When you get your picture, you can always mark pink, white, whatever. You can mark those, whatever colours you want them to be. Now, the two buds that I've got up the top here, I'm not too sure if you can see them. All I can see is reflection on the screen. These here are going to be done in green and gold. And you might think, oh, that's disgusting, but sorry, with a little bit of white in there and a bit of pink. So I've just given the white a shake again. And this one here is my white brush. So that's my white one. So this one, I'm going to basically paint all white up through the centres. Just add a nice bit of paint. Don't stress, again, if you go over the lines, it's not a big deal. I don't expect them to be perfect. It's just nice to have something done and not be stressing over perfections. None of my work, nothing I do is perfect. As far as my work is concerned, I never strive to be perfect. I just strive to be happy. So I've always said that. All right, so once you've got a fair amount of white on, and both those buds are the same, you've got the white on, you wipe your brush, you grab your pink, and I've already given that a shape, I think. Yeah. Grab your pink, and you just want to grab enough that you can put it down the base and along the edge, like that, and just sort of work it in small areas at a time. Tap in there. Not too much paint, and you're probably better off wiping it off because it'll just make big blobs. And just follow the line so that you get a nice groove, like it looks like a groove. Then the outside edges, so it looks like it's got a bit of shape to it, like that. These flat little brushes, they're literally just cheap ones, and these work really, really well with that sort of thing. I like the flat ones when I'm doing these sort of things because you can get up close to the edge. All right, so then you just feed that down, and same with this side. Okay. Now, you can see that I've got a lot of blue, the background fabric still visible there. So I'm going to just wipe that. I'm going to get the smallest touch of the green, and I'm going to add that in along these little lines. And it's just a really small touch. I don't want too much. And take off any excess. I really just want it to be a hint, not a flat out. See how it's got a straight edge to it? I want to now just smooth it in so it's more of a shade than it is a line. Okay? You can see how that just all of a sudden changed the look. And you can see that the bud still has a little bit of green in it. It's not quite ready to open yet. Okay, and a little bit at the top, just up there. Okay, so that bud is now ready and to move on to the next one. All right. And then I just wipe my brush clean. This paint all washes out in water, so you can wash them out later. If I want to add a little bit of mauve to these while the paint is still wet, you can do so. I've got my pink brush here. I'll just add a, sorry, that's my green one. The pink brush is over here. Grab a little bit of mauve, violet, and just add it in right at the bottom here and work it in, just so it gives a hint of shade, shadow, dark, you know, like it's where the light is hitting and where it's not hitting. Okay. And just remember, less is more. You can always add more in, but you can't take it out. Okay. The finger painting, just to dab it, get rid of the paint marks, and that creates that nice dark tinge to the centre. Now, for your leaves are, excuse me, basically green. So I paint the whole thing green, and it's this emerald, bright emerald green. I try and leave the centre of it free if I can and not paint over that line, but if you do, like I say, it's only a straight line down the centre. It's not rocket science. You can always just draw that in later and just fill it up. Lots of paint, nice and shiny. Okay, right down. If you want to change the shape of the leaf at all, now's the time to do it, and you can go up like that, and I might change it so that it comes out here, and I can do that, and you can too. So if the leaf is not the shape you want it to be, if the drawing wasn't quite right, you can change that. Once you've got that in there, clean your brush to really get that green out of it, and we've got the gold. The gold is going to give the tips of it some highlights and also up the centre. So that centre will be filled in with a touch of gold. And although we'll stitch over it, you'll still see that gold there. Just trying to get some of the green out. You also want the edges nice and gold. It's where the light would hit. Okay. And maybe the tip. Now that's a lot of paint on that one, so I will come back in a second and fix that. So you just grab that paint and drag it down. But that will make, you'll see it when you when it dries. It'll actually create like a highlighted area. All right, so there's that. Now, if you're wanting to make that line again up the centre a little bit darker, like so you've got a darker and a lighter side, you can use your purple. You don't have to have a black. You can use your purple and just a really tiny little bit with that brush. Just go up there and give it a little bit of a smudge on that side of it. Fraction too much paint. I'll use my fingers. Smudge her in. There we go. That's better. You see how that's just given it a nice bit of shadowing on the other side of that line without using black. Black, it can be very stark when it comes to paint. I don't use it very often. Now, I also had purple petals as well. So the purple petals were done exactly the same way as the others. So I got the white, and I fed it around, just really move the paint around. So the centre of the petal is really full and up to the edges. All right, so there's a lot of paint there. You can see it all moving around. And as far as I can go up the edges. There. And that gives you a nice shiny white top, white petal, sorry. Then we get the purple, which I'm going to use my pink brush because I've finished the pink for the moment. And I'm going to grab the purple, get that off. I'll go in between these. A little bit more purple in between there. And as soon as it hits the white, it starts to lighten, of course. A little bit more purple. And just fill in that area there. And little bits at a time is the best, okay, when it comes to doing these smaller areas in between things. When you're filling up something like that, you can go, you know, quite quickly at it. Now, you can see it's starting to get a little bit mauve there. So I'm just going to darken it up a fraction. I've added a little bit more purple in there. And that's when I'm starting to use a circular motion and just let it work its thing, do its thing. Let it work into the fabric, into the fibres. And feed it in. If you can't get rid of the paintbrush strokes because it's too wet, that's when we go finger painting, and you just touch that out like that. All of a sudden it looks perfect. Now you can decide whether you want to make this top bit white or you want it dark. I'm going to go with white. So to make that white and make it look like it's meant to be white and not just a mistake, I'm going to darken up underneath it because it's very light there. I haven't got quite enough mauve in that, around that area. So I'm going to darken that up so that looks a bit better. And then grab the white, a small brush, I've got set aside, and pop paint in there, just leaving it one colour, no shadowing, like that. There we go. Then she's done. Now it might look like, you know, it's a bit rough or whatever, but once you start stitching, that's going to look really, really super cool. So you can see how you can go from one step to the next. You can sit in front of the TV, which is what I did, and just paint it. Okay, so once you've done this, then we go to the next step. So I'm going to move this away. Now the next step is going to be stitching these lines here. I've used a black thread and I have literally just gone around 2 to 3 times each line that was in the design. Now, mine over here is wet still, so I can't do that while it's wet, but I will show you, going over some of these, how that works. So I'm going to move the camera and put it over to my machine and try and get so that you can see what I'm doing. So let's see if you can see. I might just take that down and stand I've got there. Okay. I'm not dry enough. Yeah. I'll get my chair. So what I can do is, I can demonstrate on one that I haven't painted. Doesn't make any difference. So I've got in this one a really, really dark grey. It can be really dark grey or it can be like a black. I'm just trying to get that. I don't know how to zoom. I don't think it does. So I'm going to just change my foot over because this is a closed toe foot. And I had my open toe foot inside for quite a while. So I've set my machine up for free motion quilting. So if you haven't done that before, that would mean that I would need to lower the seat off. I need to change my foot to a free motion foot, which can also be called a darning foot in your sewing machine guide. I have changed my tension to around about 5.5 6. My machine I know this machine very, very well, and it likes it on under 6. I'm going to move my needle across. So it's on the left-hand side. I'm also going to thread it. I'm using a Resant thread, which is a cotton. It's cotton on the outside, and it's got a poly core. It's quite sturdy. Doesn't have any shine, but it is very sturdy for what I'm doing with all the pulling and shoving. Put it down. Put them down everywhere. I've just got a black bobbin in the base of it. I'll put my glasses on to see what I'm doing. I'm going to use gloves because I can't do it without gloves. These are my Nifty Quilters gloves that I have on my website, and that is michellespatchwork.com. And they just slip on like that. So that means that when I'm doing especially things like arty things, if I need to change my thread 3,000 times, I don't have to keep taking off my my gloves to do so. So first things first, I've got the machine set up, puts up. Now every time you do this, every quilt is going to be a little bit different. So you're going to find that some are thicker than others. So this foot has an adjustment where it can lift up and it can drop down. That I'm happy about. So that is really still very wet. It's yeah, very wet. So I'm going to just go over here and show you. Now, when you sew through paint, it does make that tap 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 noise. So just so you know, don't get a fright if you hear it. That's normal. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how I stitch down the line. It's basic free motion quilting. I'm going to just let it bury its own thread because the inside of this is incidental. It doesn't matter if the back of it's not quite right because it's an art quilt, and you know, I don't do perfect, so it can just stay like that. I do go over it later with a little shaver thing and shave all the extra bits off. All right, so I'm just going to come up here away from that paint. So the first thing I'm going to do, the foot's down, needle up, and you can see that thread slowly burying. If it doesn't all go, I will sometimes cut off like that, and then start again and go needle down. What's the daisy? It comes ready itself. I'm going. Try again. A bit keen, didn't I? There we go. All that. So I'll try again. So needle down, needle up. There we are. Now, when you're doing free motion quilting, you're not feeding fabric. So you shouldn't have to be lifting this up. These gloves make you put your hands flat so that you're not doing these ones. You're not holding it like this. Your hands flat so that you can relax your shoulders. As soon as you grab something like that or you're pushing like this, you're instantly going to lift your shoulders, and you'll see, you know, you'll see yourself lifting your shoulder. You feel it straight away. So that's just telling me to feed dogs down. So I just follow the line. You'll get to know your own machine. Every machine, you'll hear it. It sounds really nice when it's at a good speed for what it's doing. Now I will go through the whole quilt without cutting off once, not even once. And the way to do that is you just keep going back over and travelling over your line. Now, if you go off the line, don't stress over it. You'll see in some of mine, I go off the line. That's okay. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to unpick it. There'll be no unpicking. So as soon as I have my hands, I don't know if you saw that then, but my hands were out here, you lose control. As soon as you have your hands out away from this area here, your control diminishes, okay? So you need to have your hands in under this throat space. Just before I go any further, I can see that that needs to be pushed down. As I'm sewing, I can tell that the foot needs to go down a little bit more. So then it just broke the thread. So if that's the case, then I just adjust it each time I stop the machine. Decided to chew on my thread for me. What's the day? Oh, it's not working for me at all, is it? Here we go. Down. Go behind now. Needle up. Cut off thing. Now, if your needle is not in the right position for this to work, for your needle threader to work, just do a cut off, because it'll put the needle in the right position. Just making sure that that's in the right spot. There we go. No. That might not be in the right copy. I'll soon find out. If I have to do it manually, I'll cry. There we go. Although I've got my glasses on, still won't be fun. All right, there we go. Finally got it to thread. So go back over here, just start sewing again. So I won't go over that way because that's where the paint is. So I'm just travelling back over the same lines. And it's best to do it 2 to 3 times. And that's what makes it nice and puffy. Okay, and just travel back and forth. If you keep your hands nice and steady and you don't lift them, you're going to get a nice flow. If you take both hands off to feed something through, that's when you'll lose it and it'll all go out of place. So if you notice, I don't ever, if I take one hand up or pick one hand up, I don't actually lift the other hand until one is actually touching. So there's always a hand touching the piece of work. All right. So to do that bit there, I'm just going to go all the way up there, all the way back. So I can go back to where it was and just keep moving on. All right, so once you've gone around all of it, you can see it already. It's starting to do that puffy thing. Once you've gone around the whole thing, then you need to do the background. Now, I do know that I am on a time limit, and I'm pretty sure it was 40 minutes. So I started at 4:30, so I am pretty much done for time. So I will organise to do the rest of this on my website or with my Facebook site, and I will talk to you all very soon. Thank you.